Hi, I'm Rachel. Welcome to January Reading Wrap Up, where I'll tell you about the books I've read during the month of January, what I thought about them, and how many stars out of 5 I gave them. So if you're new to this channel, you're very welcome, and if you've come back and you've watched my other videos, then thank you very much for doing that, and I appreciate your support. So if you find anything in this video useful or enjoyable, then please like and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications so you don't miss any of my videos, and also it'd be lovely if you could share my videos with other people so that we can all learn from each other about how to navigate life as a Gen Xer, or for those people who are younger who watch, to learn some tips and tricks about how to make later life more fun and more inspiring. So today I'd like to tell you about the books that I read in January. I read 7 books in total and I actually enjoyed all of them. I thought they were really good. If you've watched my wrap-up videos before about what I've read in the previous month, you'll know that I've set myself a challenge to read 1 classic book per month from September 24 until I decide not to, so maybe September 25. This month I actually read 2 classics, but they were very short and I enjoyed both of them. So the first book I read, I started it just at the end of December, but I only count the books into the month that I finished them in. So this was a January book. It's called The Coast Road by an Irish author called Alan Murrin. Now it's set in 1994 in a small town on the coast of Ireland, and it centres around 3 women and how they think about their marriages and their lives, what they want to do, what they've lost in the past. And this was in the time before divorce became an option in Ireland. Now it sounds a bit gloomy, but it was actually a really good book. I struggled a little bit to get into the way of writing, but once I'd got in the swing of it, it was a good book, very character based rather than plot based, although there was development of the plot as the book went on. So it was a very good book, quite surprising in some respects, but mostly looking at how life's circumstances change over the years and how you yourself change over the years, what you want, what you're prepared to put up with, what you're not. So yeah, I would recommend this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Now the second book that I read in January was The Stationery Shop of Tehran. This is one of the books I bought when I went to the second-hand book barn on my birthday, the beginning of January. It's by Marjan Kamali, and I was interested in this because I'd heard about The Lion Women of Tehran, written by the same author. This is one she wrote before that, and I hadn't got a copy of The Lion Women. I've got it reserved from the library, so I'm waiting for that to come in. So I thought, well, I'll pick this one up, see whether I like her writing style. And I've also got a connection with Tehran because from the age of 6 months to 4 years old, I actually lived in Tehran. My dad was working out there, so we went to live with him while he was there and stayed in several flats during the time. Obviously, because I was quite young, I don't remember a huge amount. So I thought this would be interesting to see some of the history of Tehran before we went there. So I went there in 1966 when I was 6 months old. So this is set in 1953. I'll just read you the blurb on the back. In a small shop in a country on the brink of unrest, 2 people meet for the very first time. Roya loves nothing better than to while away the hours in the stationery shop run by Mr. Fakhri. The store, stocked with fountain pens, shiny ink bottles and thick pads of writing paper, also carries translations of literature from all over the world. Barman, with his burning passion for justice, is like no one else she has ever met. So Barman is a young, late teenager where she meets him in the shop. But all around them, as their relationship blossoms, life in Tehran is changing. So this was in the period of time when they got a prime minister who was popular with some factions but not others. They had the Shah, who, again, popular with some, not with others. And it says, suddenly, shockingly, violence erupts, a coup d'etat that forever changes their country's future as well as their own. So yeah, we follow this couple as their relationship develops. And it's a double timeline, mostly set in 1953-54, but also in more modern day, but's moved to America at that stage. Yeah, I love this. I gave it 5 stars. Really good book, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading the one that I've got on reserve from the library. So excuse me, I'm looking down. I'm just having a look at on my Goodreads to remember which order I wrote them in. So the first of the classics that I read was one that I'd heard so much about over the years, and I'd never got round to reading it. It wasn't part of the curriculum when I was at school. I went to school in Scotland, and we primarily focused on Scottish authors. So this is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper. Now, it's a very, very famous book, and I can see why. It's amazing. I loved it. It's about 2 children. The girl's name's Scout, that's her nickname, and her brother is called Jem. And their father is called Atticus Finch, which you may well have heard of because I know there was a film made based on the book, which I've never seen either. So this was written in 1960, but it's actually set in the 1930s in the deep south in America. And Scout and Jem's father, Atticus Finch, is a lawyer, and he takes on the case of a black man who's accused of a terrible crime. And it shows you life in a small southern community, brings up racism and sort of small town prejudice, and also that lingering thing that children have about a bogeyman, you know, this sort of mythical person. You don't know what they look like, what they sound like, because you never see them, but you know they're there. And the bogeyman in this book is called Boo Radley. So it's wonderful. A lot of the books pretty much all the books from the children's perspective. And it's written in such a lovely way that you see how children try to interpret the facts based on the little experience they've had so far in their lives. So they're trying to understand it, but they don't have enough context, they don't have enough experience of these things to figure it out completely. And their father is, I don't know, he's a lovely character. He's so nice to his children. And if you haven't read it, I would definitely recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. And if you have read it, maybe it's time for a reread. I'm sure you get different things from this book at different ages and stages in your life. So yeah, fabulous. To Kill a Mockingbird. I read 3 non-fiction books this month, and the first of the 3 is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And if you've watched my videos before, or if this is your first video, you know that I'm doing a low spend challenge in 2025. So I've got a series of things that I'm not spending money on, things that I'm allowed to replace as they run out, and normal expenditure bills, insurance, groceries, petrol, that kind of thing. So I thought it would be interesting to read about the psychology of money and how our view of money comes a lot from our childhood. And Morgan Housel talks about money not in terms of mathematics, but in terms of emotion, because most of our spending is based on emotion rather than logic. Or if it is based on, logic, there's emotion running alongside it. And in this book, he sets out 19 stories about different people at different times over the years who have had a view on money that's different to the people in the other chapters of the book. So it's quite eye-opening. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I felt that, I don't know, perhaps it was a little bit repetitive, but other than that, great book. And and I know he's written a few books since this book. It's very popular. So yeah, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. The next book I read was by Katherine May, and it's called Wintering. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube who've been reading this book lately, and I can understand why. A lot of us feel very gloomy and a bit depressed during the dark months of the year. Some people suffer with seasonal affective disorder and get very, very depressed. But I think generally there's just a hope that things will brighten up and the days will get longer and warmer. So in this book, Katherine is talking about wintering, not just in the sense of the months of winter, December, January, February, but in terms of taking rest when you need it, when life is hard or you have an illness or something's going on in your life which is a real struggle, like losing your job or anything like that. And she talks about how to view wintering, either the season or the stage of life you're in, as a more positive part of the year or part of your life, to look for ways to make it cosy, to make it nourishing for your soul and your body, and to take that time to rest and recuperate and go into not necessarily hibernation, but to slow down, to stop racing around, to accept that winter and wintering is a slow process. And she travels to Iceland where, there's very, very little light in the winter. And she talks to people there about how they cope with it and how soon in the year they have to get prepared for winter in terms of chopping wood so that they're warm, and how they deal with, I suppose, the separation between the seasons. That if it's always dark, our bodies don't really like that. Our bodies like light in the morning to wake us up, and then dimming light in the evening to get us to go to sleep. So it's a nice book. I like the way it looks at winter and taking care of yourself in a positive way, rather than oh God, it's just something to be got through, and to endure. And all of our time is spent looking forwards to spring, rather than looking for the nice aspects of the winter, the nice things you can do in the winter, like snuggling down and having candles. And is it the Danish call it hygge, where you get really cosy and comfortable. So yeah, lovely book. I think she's got another one out called Enchantment, if I'm not wrong, which is about the natural world and how nature can lift us up and inspire us and motivate us. So I think I might see if I can get hold of a copy of that from the library and give that one a go. So I gave Wintering 5 stars. The second classic that I wrote, no, I didn't write it, I've never written a book in my life. The second classic that I read was A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. Now this was recommended on a BookTube channel, Tristan and the Classics. I love his channel. He's so inspiring and enthusiastic about classic books that I think anybody would have a job not to want to go and read at least one after they've watched some of his videos. So he recommended this. It's a very short book. It's only about 120 pages. And it's set post First World War in 1920. And this soldier or ex-soldier has had PTSD, as we call it now, and he's got a twitching face, and any loud noises make him cower, as you would expect when you've been through the awful things that those men must have seen and heard and smelt. So his job is to uncover old pictures, basically, and he gets sent to this little village on commission to uncover this wall painting in a church, and it's a massive painting, and he's there for a month, hence the title. So when he arrives, he obviously doesn't know anybody, and the family of the vicar don't offer him board and lodging. So he ends up having to sleep in the tower in the church, which has got open windows. Well, no windows, it's just open to the elements. And he has to sleep on the floor there, which seemed particularly cruel because he wasn't getting paid very much either. And he slowly comes out of his shell as he uncovers the painting and he gets to know the people in the village. And over time they come to really like him and include him in, their meals and going out for days out. There's also another ex-soldier who is staying near the church, and he befriends the main character, whose name escapes me. Anyway, it's a lovely book about new beginnings after difficult times, how people can find a new life after tragedy, and how something like a painting can draw all sorts of different people into one area, in this case a church, because they're all fascinated to see what's revealed as he takes off the surface layers of paint to reveal this ancient painting. And it's all done on scaffolding. It's very, very high up in the church. And it was lovely. It was a really nice story, quite life-affirming. So yeah, A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr, I gave 4 stars to. And the last book that I read in January was this new book by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. This is a library copy, which is why it's a bit shiny. Make Change That Lasts. Now in this book he goes through a number of things you can do to make change that lasts. And if I just read the contents out, the first one, trust yourself. Give up your heroes and stop being reliant on perfection. Be yourself, reliance on being liked. Embrace discomfort. Take less offence. Expect adversity. Let go and move on. Reclaim your time. And the final one, give more than you get. So the premise of the book is to look at your behaviours and to become less reliant on other people for your own well-being. So instead of believing everything you read about health and fitness, you actually listen to your body and notice what makes you feel good, what makes you feel perhaps sleepy or feel a bit sick, and to adjust what you're doing, what you're eating and your activity levels to suit yourself, because only you know your own body, nobody else does. So it's moving away from that reliance of expecting everything outside of you to provide the answers, and to look inside yourself, because that's where the answers actually lie. So yeah, it was an interesting book. Quite liked some of the advice about, how you can do things differently, how you can set up systems in your day-to-day life to support your well-being and to support your motivation and moving forwards with things you want to do. A lot of it's about building boundaries with other people so that your needs are met. None of it's to say that you can't be reliant on people to help you if you need help. It's more to, as I said, to get you to look at yourself and to learn the things that are going to work for you, that support you, that helps you improve your fitness and your mental health. So it was a good book. Awful lot of pictures of him staring into space, which got a bit monotonous after a while. The ideas that he's written about in the book are very useful, and I will be adapting some of them to suit me and how I am. So I gave that one 4 stars as well. So it's been a really good reading month. We're now through into February. I've read 1.5 books so far, but I'll tell you about that at the beginning of March. I'd love you to tell me what you've been reading and what you've enjoyed and what you've not really liked or you've given up halfway. Please also like and subscribe to my channel. Share it with other people if you think they'd be interested in the types of things that I talk about on my videos, my low spend year, my hobbies, reading, that kind of thing. And I really value your comments that you leave for me after each video. It's lovely to read them. Sometimes they're giving me advice, which is very welcome. Or sometimes just saying that I've helped the people, and that's really what I'm here for. If I can help anybody navigate their way through life and later life, then I'm very, very happy to do that. And if you let me know in the comments that I have helped, then that's wonderful. That makes it all worthwhile. Okay, so enjoy February, and I will see you at the beginning of the March with another reading wrap up. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.